Okay, so hey, it's almost the end of July, and it's been almost 4 weeks, 3, 4 weeks since I made my mid-year update. I've been traveling. I got back from my vacation, and I thought I'd have time to do more, get some of these ideas down, but time has gotten away from me. A lot of stuff going on with family. Had a great adventure in the Adirondacks, as always, and just got back from spending 3 nights in Hamilton and Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And so I'm going to jump in here with some records I found specifically in Toronto, and then talk about a wonderful package I got of promotional records, but almost, these are records I would have bought. Some VCLT, and then a little surprise at the end, which you're seeing in the title. But anyway, hope everyone's summer's going well. As I said, I meant to get to all of these sooner, so we're just going to put them together, and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a fun topic. So, yes, was in Ontario this past weekend, and was not a digging trip at all. We were staying on a beach in Hamilton, and we did some hanging around in Toronto. I love Hamilton quite a bit, actually. It's a much bigger city than I thought, home of Simply Saucer. And a bunch of record shops, although the 2 that I went to weren't very good. I'll just leave it at that. And like I said, I wasn't really going out of my way to visit them. These are the 2 I came across as I was there. I did talk a little bit with Dean Cronin. Thank you, Dean, for recommending a few shops in Toronto. I went to Lost and Found Records in, I forget the name of that neighborhood, but really good stuff there. I didn't take any video, but I met the owner, George, who was very friendly dude. He had some amazing stuff on his wall. Big psych guy. Very high prices. He showed me original OG of, and he had some great jazz of Glacier Encore III, Evolution, original first pressing Blue Note, 4 figures. Like, thank you, George. I'm here for a few minutes while my family goes and gets some food. So I was like, I couldn't even buy anything. Although I did see some cool stuff, but just again, the prices were high. And did I pop into another store there? No, but I did go. Dean told me, it's the most well-known store, but it's got the most selection. Sonic Boom. I did buy a cheap tote bag. The Canadian dollar definitely helped me out, or the American dollar, strength of the American dollar right now helped me out. But I don't think I found anything too great. I was there with my son. There's a lot of new product, but a lot of used product mixed in. But I found 3 decent things. I'll show you what those are quickly. This was a band, Enon, ex-member Brainiac John Schmersel started this band in around the year 2000, late 90s. This is their first record. It was originally on a small label called See-Through Broadcasting, which made a bunch of very small catalog, but they were really on the indie scene for like a year or 2, like heavy, and then they were gone. I like all their aesthetic, all their artwork for that label, but this is kind of like an arty noise rock, not even noise rock, but just sort of avant rock, a little like a Deerhoof, but a little more poppy. This I thought maybe was the original, but the original goes for a little bit more money. This was actually a Record Store Day reissue. I didn't know it was done, so this was cheap. This was $20. It's about what it sells for, but I was there. I grabbed it from the new rock. And 2 other things. Again, nothing exciting. This is pretty cool. It's a pretty bit of off condition, but I played this in the listening station. It sounds great. Owen Gray, a bit of a rock steady dub. Roots record. What is it? Fire and Bullets from 1977. This is the first pressing on Trojan. Checked out from a playback when I played it. Sounded pretty good, so I decided to get it. A lot of good reggae. I decided not to get anything else. Nothing else was quite what I wanted, but just grabbed that quick. I was in Sonic Boom for like an hour. And this one, when I'm in Canada, I like to look for the Canadian Columbia records, and this is a psych record called Hartford Baby Grand. feel like psychedelic. I got a video coming out to you soon. There was a $100 copy in their rare bin. They had a bunch of rare bins in the back, which cool stuff. Nothing, all top dollar. But they had a $100 copy for this. And then I found this one in the bins for 40 Canadian, which ended up being close to 30. Barely remember this one. I did check this out at some point, but I do want to show you there's a Canadian band on the Canadian 360 stereo labels. Only released there. So I like to find these when I can. I found a bunch of Canadian Columbias in Montreal last year, so I figured I'd grab that. Hopefully I actually like it. The Owen Gray may end up being a gift from my friend, we'll see. But the Hartford Baby Grand, we'll see where I end up with that. I think it's a little bit on the pop psych side. I honestly don't remember. You know, I didn't find anything weird or experimental in Sonic Boom. Tons of new stuff, which I wasn't really looking at. I looked through the avant-garde, I looked through electronic stuff. Nothing totally grabbed me, but I'm sure there would have been other things I would have found if I looked through more of the jazz. Didn't have time. As I said, this was not a digging trip. But this is what I found. So, those are the 3 records I grabbed in Canada. But I had a great time. So, moving into Carbon Records. My friend Joe Tunis, the owner of Carbon Records, he's celebrating his 31st anniversary this coming weekend and the following weekend. I'm going to link to all the shows that are happening here in Rochester, New York. If you can make any of the shows, you should go. If anyone's going, let me know. I'm going to try to get to one. This is the sticker from the 30th anniversary that he sent me. So Joe sent me some promotional records to if I want to talk about, and I do want to talk about them because they're great. Excellent. Everything he sent me was excellent. I haven't really flipped through this yet, but Joe sent me the zine, which he puts together. We have interviews with Rachel Shearer, Bruce Nice, David Alexander Shapiro, photos by Liam Grant, tour diary from Emily Robb and Richie Charles, and plus reviews. This is spring 2025. My teeth need attention. So you can find this via Carbon Records. And Carbon Records has been going for, this is their 31 year anniversary. So Joe's like, hey, I got some records I want you to check out. So he sent me them. And I'm really glad he did. I'll start with this 7-inch by Alexander, an artist I don't really know. And I'll tell you what we're playing in a second. But Alexander actually has some, I have like one sheets, which is cool to have. But Alexander is a solo project of New Haven, Connecticut-based musician David Shapiro, who was talked about in that zine. He's played with Kath Bloom and the psych band Headroom and Center. And he's doing 2 different sides of fingerstyle acoustic guitar and banjo. So, of course, a lot of what he knows, Joe, I like, is the primitive stuff. And one side is banjo, one side is, mandolin. And, this really harkens back to the sound of Tacoma, the more rootsy stuff. But taking from certainly a psychedelic point of view. Yeah, this as he mentions on this one sheet, it's kind of a sweet nostalgia, and that is what this is. It's really nice. Apparently, he's also played a little bit with... No, I'm thinking of something else. I'll get to that in a second. But a cool little 7-inch here from Alexander, just self-titled on Carbon Records. I also recently bought the Rock Candy 7-inch, which I don't know if I've shown yet, but that is with Emily Robb, who's a great guitar player, avant-guitar player. So I know Stunty got some of these things, so he's talked about some of these already. And I know I think he's played all 3 of these next ones, but I've been absorbing these for the last month, and I meant to do this video before my Canadian vacation, but it'd be a little bit more fresh if I had, but I didn't get to it. But I did listen to these at least 3 times each, and we're listening to Eric Arn's Fix Idee, solo guitarist, recorded in Vienna, 2019 to 2023, mastered by James Plotkin. Now this is a seating tube, but it's a nice matte, beautiful matte sleeved, textured silkscreen sleeve. And Eric Arn, again, that's what we're hearing in the background. He has worked with all kinds of people. Eric has released records on a wide range of labels: Feeding Tube, Stone to Death, Lotus Sound, Slow Tapes, Ramble Records. He's also collaborated with Tom Carter of Charalambides. Can never say that band name. And Jasmine Pender, Margaret Unknown, and Yilmaz. And so what we have here are, this, a little bit more of an avant solo guitar style. He's done, let's see, how many solo records is this? There's definitely some parts here where he gets into more of a Derek Bailey sound, even Eugene Chadbourne. But obviously we have some more lo-fi beauty here, like what we're hearing. And it's lovely, really lovely. Only 500 copies of this one. You can find, I'll link to all of these, or you can find them all on the Carbon Records Bandcamp. I'll link to them. I'm going to link to the Carbon Fest that's happening, like as I said, the shows that are coming up. This is one I've loved the most, and I know this one registered with a lot of the listeners on the Stunt Rock stream, the Friday stream. Die Vlaamse Primitiven. Belgian, right, Joe? You think he told me? Belgian or Dutch. This is, he might be sold out of this. There's still a few copies left. This thing is highly worth getting. A real, amalgamation of, yes, psychedelic folk, but field recording, found sound type things. A little bit of a Popol Vuh kind of in the way they sort of brought together an international feel to the krautrock sound. This is a duo. I don't think they've done much else. Don't quote me on that. There might be one other record, but like I said, they combine psychedelic, krautrock, folk rock, drone, but with the tradition of sort of primitive Americana and folk tradition, sort of as like what it's filtered through. They mention here like a very DIY aesthetic, which it is. It's droney and beautiful, man. This one just is immersive as hell. This was my favorite record that Joe sent me. It's musicians John Boudart and Freek Vrees. We have them playing 6 and 12 string guitar, banjo, zither, and percussion, as well as shruti box and other various percussions. And really, again, a really nice sleeve. Carbon Records, and the prices with Carbon, Joe, keeping them on the cheaper side, or just less expensive, I'd say. I think this one might be a little more expensive because of the packaging, and I know this went to Europe too. Maybe this was pressed in Europe, so it costs a little more to make, but I highly recommend this if you can still get it. It's a split release with the Pang Pang label and Carbon Records. This is out now. Great one. And the last one is by the artist most note of this group, Lauren Connors, with Suzanne Langille. Now, Lauren Connors, I know Stunty said this too, and I agree. I mean, not everything is amazing, always interesting, but I have maybe a handful of Lauren Connors records, 5 to 7 of them. And this is a 45 RPM, so it's almost like an EP. But it's the first time on vinyl. It was previously issued in, I think, 1998. I believe it was 98, but it was a CD only, I'm pretty sure. The hype sticker says as much. Interwoven tracks of crushing guitar work and brutal, honest solo vocal performances. First time on vinyl from 1996. And the title, I didn't tell you, it was just Crucible. And it's Connors doing what he does, doing abstract guitar. If you've never heard Lauren Mazzacane Connors, or what are his other names? Lauren Mazzacane, Guitar Roberts, all these different pseudonyms. His early records from the late 70s to the 80s on the St. Ives, I think it is, or St. Ives label. I don't have any of those. I'd love to have them. St. Jones, Daggett, Black Label. Very rare. They never come up for sale, and they're very abstract and difficult, but there's only maybe a few hundred copies pressed of each of those, so you never see those. I've seen one in my days that actually came into the shop here. I didn't buy it, but later on he would release stuff on the indie labels like Road Cone, Secretly Canadian, Family Vineyard, Ecstatic Yalg, Table of the Elements, sort of those more avant-garde late 90s labels. And what he's doing here is really great, and Langille's vocals sort of like come in and out. They sort of trade in a sense. Langille is a poet and vocalist doing, it just talks about blending the American songbook and folk influences. Crucible is a must listen for any avid listener of Lauren Connors and Langille, and should be considered required listening for anyone trying to make the plunge deeper into experimentalism of any genre of music. So, a little general there, but obviously Lauren Connors is one of the great improvisers ever, really. So, a real legend. as I said, not everything registers for me. Even the ones that don't are interesting. Like some of the songs where records where he sings, I'm a little bit lost on, but always interesting. So this one is also available again through Carbon Records. So just out. Thank you so much, Joe, for sending those. Of course, I'll be looking for more. Hopefully, I'll see you at one of the Carbon Fest shows. I'm hoping to get there. So thanks again. All right. I got some VCLT that arrived in the mail when I got back from the Adirondacks, and I've had it for about 3 weeks now. These I've listened 1 to 2 times each, and it comes from my friend Thijs out in Denver, Soundofminder. Really appreciate it. I didn't know he was sending me records. He just was thanking me, I guess, I've sent him a couple things, and just been great to get to know Thijs. Hopefully I get to meet when I can get out to Denver again. I've been out to Denver like 4 times, of course, not when I knew Thijs or Steve, who's out there now, of course. I have friends out in Denver. We were last there in 2018, so we'll see if we can get out there. Anyway, he sent me 5 records, and he, because my collection is public, he was able to look and see what I had, and he was able to sort of like mine what's going on and make sure I didn't have them, and he knew already the stuff I would like, so I'll show you. He sent me this Technicolor record, which is Bliss Out Volume 16, the only Bliss Out on Darla I didn't have. And this one I think you can still get. Now, this is more of an IDM electronica record, and I didn't find it to be like sort of one I needed to go out and grab. If I came across it, I would get it. Well, here it is. And it's cool stuff. It definitely is sort of coming from the early 2000s, late 90s sort of perspective, sort of that, what I think of as like IDM sound. And if you don't know the Darla Bliss Out series, I did a video on that. I'm pretty sure I did, yeah. I'll link to that video below. I don't remember what I called that video. It involved Cranky, of course, as well. But that was a thing where Darla was focused on doing indie bands that were doing more experimental and droning minimalism records. So bands that didn't necessarily specialize in that. Like American Analog Set, for example. Wendy and Carl, who do specialize in that, but they did maybe the best Bliss Out record, and maybe my favorite record by them is in there, Antarctica. But anyway, there's like 18 volumes of the Bliss Out, and this is 16. So Normal Control Range by Technicolor. Last I checked, you could get this on the Darla website, so if you're interested, this is out there. But a nice addition to filling out the Bliss Out series. So Thijs, thank you. A record I've been meaning to grab, Meredith Monk Dahlman music. A great vocal experimentation record. I don't have any Meredith Monk. I just never grabbed them. So I dig this stuff. I dig vocal experimentation. And that's primarily what she's doing here on the ECM label, the American ECM. Certainly a good idea. It's from 1981. Also, this is great. This one I loved, and very apropos to put Daniel Givens, the New York City hip-hop, free spirit, free jazz sort of amalgamation. This is an EP called Freedom's Myth. This was great. This might be my favorite thing that I got in this batch. And featuring Josh Abrams. So Thijs was on the money there. Along with a bunch of other people. This is an EP, 12-inch EP, which I'm always happy to get. I can't quite see which label this was. But I don't know if it was the Aesthetics label like the LP was, but this was excellent. Really enjoyed this. I'll be spinning this one again. And there's more Josh Abrams. This one I knew. This is probably the one that was probably the most not for me, or the only one really not for me. And I had checked this one out before. Excavations 1 by Josh Abrams. This is a straight up free improv record, just him, solo bass, live to tape in July 2012. No edits or dubs, mastered by Carl Saff, painted by Lisa Alvarado, who does all of the work with Abrams and National Information Society. It's interesting, just, straight improvisation, solo bass, screechy, scratchy, cool to hear, just maybe something that, for me, doesn't necessarily, get to some interesting places, but cool to hear because I'm such a fan of Josh Abrams. I appreciate you sending me this, Josh, as well. Or Thijs, this is Josh Abrams. Maybe one I might pass on to someone else, but cool to have, and it certainly makes sense to grab, being I'm such a Josh Abrams guy. And the last one, a Tortoise record I did not have, Beacons of Ancestorship. I know this one, just didn't have it. Didn't have this on CD either, so absolutely happy to have this. This is one of their more schizophrenic records, I'd say, where they're really sort of, each track sounds a little different, of course, on Thrill Jockey. I think this is the year, early 2000s, 2003? It says 2009, actually. I don't know if that's like a reissue year or whatever, but there's the gatefold. Great one. Happy to get this. This is one I would have picked up used if I just saw it at the right time. But there's the inner sleeve, but never had. So super happy to get it. Soundofminder, I'll link to Thijs' channel below. He hasn't done a video in a while, Thijs, but he has done some live streams, somewhat recent. Check out his channel if you don't know. He's always talking about interesting music from all over the globe, and a good man as well. So great Tortoise record, 5 great records, interesting stuff from Thijs to get. Thank you so much for doing that and taking the time to do it. So that's 3 big topics squished in like 20 minutes here. Since everyone's been talking about Ozzy, I'm not going to go into a big Ozzy sort of love fest, but I will show you the 4 Sabbath records I have. I have 0 Ozzy records. Now, I don't have any personal anecdotes with Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne other than the basics. Just being into records and listening to music, I got into these records just like anyone else, but I don't have any particular huge affinity for them other than they're great and I'm happy to have them. I don't collect the UK Vertigos. I don't get any of the new reissues. I have 4 records, the first 4, and they're nice, perfect, excellent copies on the green Warner Brothers label. So we just went with those straight up. I've upgraded these to the nicest copies I possibly can. 7 Arts. The greenies sound great, man. I know it's talked about plenty. And maybe they even give a run for Vertigo for their money. I've heard Vertigo pressings. I've never compared them, but I'm just happy with these. Paranoid. What's my favorite one? I'll show you. This, I believe I have the poster for this, don't I? Is this the one that has the poster? See, I don't even remember. Or is it the first album? Nice copies. I've been able to upgrade to nice copies. See, I'm such a bonehead. Do I even have the poster in the right sleeve? Is the first album has the poster? No. Someone's out there like, you idiot. But I love these records. I just haven't listened to them recently. I'm going to listen to some. I've listened to them plenty. Master of Reality. I believe this has the poster, and this is my favorite Sabbath record. It's all about Sweet Leaf, you know? There we go. Poster. Do I have this with the right record? I'm pretty sure I do. So it's got the poster. The sleeves are all in pretty nice shape. They're hard to find these sleeves in nice shape. Lots of ring wear. Inner sleeve, you know. Nice green label. I won't... If I came across the Vertigos... I know that's a thing you always say. If I come across it, I'd get it. And that's true. I don't need the reissues. I don't. I'm sure they sound great. I just don't need it. And Volume 4. That's where I end. It's, you know, got the... There's the man. Got the attached booklet, of course. I know a lot of people seem to have preference for this one. I think they're all great, really, but I think I do like Master of Reality the best. And then I have this inner sleeve with that one. I don't know if that's the right one, but green label. Nice shape. So those are my 4 green label Black Sabbath records that I'm happy to have. I'm not looking to upgrade. But still, Ozzy obviously put a huge mark on music and hard rock in general, and those records are awesome. They're still, to me, some of the heaviest music ever made, coming from such an early time for that. So kudos to Sabbath. Kudos to Ozzy. And that's it. I crunched 4 topics in here. Check out the Carbon Records links. Check out some of these records. Again, this is the Eric Arn. I'll link to the shows that are coming up if you're in the Rochester area. Hopefully you can make them. Great time in Toronto. Thank you, Thijs. Really appreciate that. And that's it. More to come. I got a bunch in the pipeline I'm ready to do. So stay tuned and take care.